Hello and thank you for joining me. Today we're going to talk about the package art of G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero. And this is something admittedly I'm slightly obsessed with and I've been documenting for years over at 3djoes.com. What is it about the package artwork that is so impactful? Well, let's have a look at it. You've got beautiful graphics, you got just an explosive illustration, beautiful Cobra logo, the G.I. Joe logo is bold and American. There's all kinds of stuff going on here. Let's dig in on the snow job card though and talk about each individual element and what purpose it served. So it started with the artwork. This stuff was all illustrated by Hector Garrido, who was hired by Hasbro through a marketing company. And he's just an amazingly talented illustrator, a master of perspective and depth and shading and all those things. Just absolutely gorgeous. You know, his anatomy was always flawless. Everything just looked right. It's beautiful artwork. We all remember it. You see it once in the store and you always remember that figure that way. I know that's the case for me. So there was also the unique selling point at the top. And basically G.I. Joe had been around since 1964. This packaging relaunched in 1982, so it had been around for 18 years. They wanted you to know that it's still going to be fully posable, like the toys that had become previously. They were market leaders in articulation, and the small Joes from the 1980s weren't going to be any different. They were still going to be market leaders in articulation. So they lead from the very top with fully posable Modern Army figure. Well, Modern Army spoke to, hey, this isn't your dad's G.I. Joes, those big 12-inch ones with the different uniforms and stuff. That's not what this is. This is a Modern Army. And so, you know, that brand promise will be delivered on. Now, the next thing is red, white, and blue. And then the other promise underneath it, the marketing position, as Kurt would call it, is a real American hero. So unabashedly patriotic. Right out of the gate, you knew this was an American Special Operations unit. You could take pride in that. I know I was an Army brat. My dad was in the Army. He was Special Forces, and that was a big appeal to me and probably a big part of the reason that I still love it today. So there was also the play value though. You knew when you read the fine print on this packaging that, hey, those interchangeable accessories are gonna snap on and stay on. So when you stick that backpack in and you stick those skis in the backpack, you know it's gonna stay put. And that's more than I can say for a lot of the modern accessories, right? Anyway, we also had highly visible accessories and highly visible action figures. So there's a big clear bubble there. There's nothing obstructing it. There's no graphics over it. It's nice and clear. There's also a solid in the background there that the figure pops right off of. So they didn't have any contrasting colors back there or anything. They wanted it just to be a solid background color that is always, you know, very different in hue from the figure. So the figure would pop right off of that solid color. In this case, they picked blue, which is cool, which is like snow, so it makes sense. So highly visible accessories and action figures. They also had these burstable toy features. So in 1982 we got one for the mail-in Cobra Commander that was a lot bigger. In 1983 they came out with a swivel arm battle grip, right? That made a big difference in your playtime. So they gave you that right there on the package. You knew there was something different about G.I. Joe in 1983. They had a new, you know, swivel arm battle grip, so it was going to be even more fun. All right, so there was a lot going on the front of the package. What about the back of the package? Let's have a look. Immediately from the top, they're like, build your own G.I. Joe action for or mobile strike force. You got to build a whole team of these. You can't just have one, right? So they immediately, you know, from the top of the back of the package are encouraging you go out and get all of them. They of course have that big red, white, and blue G.I. Joe logo there again. A Real American Hero is seen under it again. They also have that first line on the front of the package, Modern Army Action Soldiers. It reappears here on the back. They want to really hammer that home. That yes, these are still fully articulate, but they're Modern Army action figures different from the stuff that you'd seen before. They also did the cross-sell. So that's where, yeah, you just bought the Commando. You're really lucky because he's a hard one to find, but you still have to chase the rest of these. So again, you know, create your own G.I. Joe Mobile Strike Force. You got to buy the rest of these guys. And then below there's an even more blunt call to action is what I'll call it. And it says collect G.I. Joe vehicles, weapons, figures, and Cobra Command, the enemy army. So there's like 3 points on here where they're cross-selling you in different ways and in different enough wording that it didn't seem like it was hitting you over the head too bad. Another thing is the flag points, which were frequent buyer rewards. I believe this idea came from Palitoy in the UK, and Hasbro, it was working well over there, and Hasbro decided to implement it on the G.I. Joe packaging in 1982. So this program encouraged you to save for special G.I. Joe premiums, right? So cut those little flag points out, save those for premiums. They also encourage you to clip and save the file cards, right? So clip and save, everything was collectible. Cut out the file card, cut out the flag point, save all that stuff. The beautiful thing, I think the most impactful thing about G.I. Joe packaging though, was the file cards. And these were the baby of Larry Hama, who was the writer for Marvel Comics. He wanted to keep all the characters straight, so he wrote 1 or 2 page dossiers about each character. And Kurt Bazigian, I believe, was the editor and helped distill those down to the file card format that you see here. This was absolutely brilliant. So let's dig in a little bit more on the file card and figure out what was it that they were doing here. Well, at the top, it's just pretty basic, intelligence information that you might have on record at the Pentagon or something. People's file name, birth date, serial number, specialties, maybe where they went to school, that kind of stuff. With Snake Eyes, it was different though. His name was classified, his birthplace was classified. He was immediately, just that very intriguing character, which is really cool. And then the second part is basically storytelling. It's world building. Like this was Larry Hama's baby. He put so much heart into each one of these characters. He built a world around them. And this was just a very small paragraph to let you, to give you a glimpse of that world and make you want to know more. And it was one of the things that hooked me and made me go read the comic book so I could learn more about this world. And then at the end, this was kind of brilliant. There's the psychological profile, which is how their teammates saw them. So that was a really interesting insight into these characters. So just a ton of, really hard work and insight went into these packages. And I hope you've enjoyed this talk about packaging. It was written by Kurt Bazigian, who's a good friend. I met him a few years ago at JoeCon. I've been up to visit with him at his house. There's a big page dedicated to him on 3D Joe, so again, check that out. And I just can't thank Kirk enough for being a friend and for sharing these slides with me and for letting me represent it here in a video. So thank you for watching, and I hope to do another one soon.